Okay, good morning. My name is Beth Crosso. I'm one of the school counselors here at Westmore Central High School. Today, I welcome Mr. Kapasi from Washington and Lee University. I have to say my daughter is a first-year student there, and it is just an amazing place. So I'm so thankful for him spending his time with us this morning to talk even more about Washington and Lee and all of its wonderful offerings. So without further ado, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and about Washington and Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Thank you for having me and allowing me to do this. We're really, really happy to have, of course, Catherine in our part of our class this year, and definitely hope to encourage some other students to apply as well. But a little bit about myself. My name is Murtaza Kapasi. I'm one of the admissions officers here at Washington and Lee University. I work with students specifically now in the Midwest, and so Illinois is where I'm from. It's home for me. Indiana, Michigan, Colorado, Kansas, and then also parts of Houston as well. I work with transfer students or Questbridge students, and pretty much all undergraduate students coming in. I went to WMC from 2012 to 2016, and so I have a personal kind of tie. It's great being back in Lexington. While as a student, I studied geology was my major. I was a theater minor as well as a Shepherd Poverty Program for human capabilities minor. I was involved in a lot of the student life, and so I'm happy to kind of be able to talk about that today too. But yeah, that's just a little bit about myself. I guess my favorite aspect and kind of part of campus, really when it comes down to it, it's just like this breathtaking location nestled into the mountains. And if you're looking for something that's a very peaceful environment to spend your 4 years, I think that was very key for me. I like being outdoors. I like doing things outdoors. And so having that space, especially when you're studying a lot, was really, really important, as well as just the community feeling of a small town in the South. Very hospitable, very welcoming, and kind of very communicative place overall. So.
Absolutely. I have honestly fallen in love with the town of Lexington.
Yeah, it just never gets old. I don't really think there's bad weather even in Lexington because it moves so quickly and you get 4 very mild seasons. But yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, I agree. I think breathtaking for the description of the campus is spot on. Tell me a little bit about the campus culture.
Yeah, sure. And so campus culture is actually very, very important to us. It's kind of a part of your learning experience as a student. We're a smaller campus. We're only about 1,849 students total, right? So that works out to about 480 students coming in every year. And so throughout your 4 years, you're going to get to know people through different clubs. You might live with them, part of your experience. You might take different classes with them. And so everyone really gets a sense of kind of closeness. We also have 2 traditions that we take very seriously, which are the speaking tradition as well as our honor system. And so those 2 things are very important, right? Students hold themselves with integrity, honor on campus. It's a very trusting atmosphere. People leave things and come back a week later and they'll still be in the same spot. And then the speaking tradition, which is really simple, that if you're passing someone by when you're on campus, you're acknowledging them in some way, which can be eye contact or saying hi, hello. But it's really important, right? Like, especially when you come in as a first-year student, that you feel comfortable and you feel safe, like putting yourself out there. And so when you know everyone's doing that, it makes that kind of transition a lot easier too. But yeah, I'd say those are very, very important for the campus culture. But overall, just very friendly, welcoming, lots of students who are kind of focused in and on their specific interests, but at the same time want to lift one another up, right? So that's kind of how I describe it overall.
Yeah, I tested out that speaking tradition,
Yeah.
and it's spot on. I was amazed.
Yeah, it can be a little bit weird for folks. And I remember when I came from like a bigger city of Chicago to a smaller town in Virginia, there's like this reverse culture shock that happens almost where like you're not expecting everyone to be so friendly, but people will look at you, right, and try to talk to you, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's really great. What are the top majors at your school? So if someone was to say, I'm going to major in this, I should absolutely consider going to Washington and Lee.
Yeah. So our more popular programs, I'd say cognitive behavioral science is actually one of our most popular program within the STEMs. Other programs, I'd say journalism is very has a lot of interest. Our business school has a lot of interest. Both of those being accredited. at the undergraduate level. Yeah, and within our interdisciplinary minors too, our Shepherd Poverty Program is very popular. Data science, very popular, and Lodge Assistant Society are very, very popular for students. And so, yeah, I'd say those are the key ones.
Great. And that's a nice thing too. I love because it's such a strong liberal arts school and it has a business, such a strong business program as well,
Right.
which is wonderful. Could you, and I'm sorry, I'm going off script a little bit, but could you just talk a little bit about the calendar, how the different semesters and then that spring semester program?
And so the way the academic calendar is set up is you'll have 12 weeks of your fall when you come in, you'll have a winter break, you'll come back, you'll have your 12 weeks of your winter, then you'll go on your spring break, and then you actually come back around, around April 24th, I think, around then. And you come back for a one semester for 4 weeks called spring term or spring semester. And you're taking one course for 4 weeks at the end of the year, and then May 26th rolls around. You get to be there. You get to see your classmates graduate. But that spring term is super. It's one of the best parts of the year where they have some really, really unique courses that are offered. And because you get to focus and dive into them, it's just a different learning experience altogether. A lot of those courses are going to travel. So if that's something that you're looking to do, it's a great time to do that as well.
Yeah, thank you. As I shared before, my daughter is going to do that program and go to Copenhagen.
Yeah,
I think do some research on business sustainability.
Yeah, really great places. I mean, Italy. I went to New Zealand for one of my geology ones, right? And so, really, really great programs to go and be able to, like, your classes being there, right? It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So we hear a lot about sticker price, versus actual price. What can you tell us just about the tuition, typical financial aid packages?
Yeah, so really important because if you actually look this up, Washington and Lee, being a private school in Virginia, is the most expensive school in Virginia. But we make it very, very affordable for families to attend. And so some things that we have automatically off the bat is that if your family is making $125,000 or less with assets, if you're admitted, you're going to be paying $0 in tuition. Another thing that we do is we meet 100% of demonstrated family need, and our goal, right, is to be need blind within the next few years. And so that's a goal of ours, but we meet that need without offering loans or anything like that. We're meeting it with work study and grants, and so you don't have to take those on. Apart from that, right, on the side of merit scholarship, that is competitive for us with the Johnson Scholarship Award, but that's open, and all first-year students, international or domestic students, are all eligible to be able to apply for that award. And that would be full scholarship going to about 10%, about 40 to 45 students every year. And then maybe there's some additional kind of scholarships that are also based off of where you live, and so different states depending on the year, as well as different kind of interests. So I believe this year we have one for journalism, Romance languages, and chemistry available for students. So lots of opportunities, but we really try to make it as affordable as possible for students. I think the statistic is something around 57% of first-year students that are receiving about $60,000 in need-based financial aid per year for an $80,000 overall cost. So it's still very affordable.
Yeah, so generous, really wonderful. What type of students do you typically accept? Maybe with test scores? Are you test optional? Well, maybe the GPA, transcript, extracurriculars, that type of thing.
Yeah, and so on this end, right, it's hard to say one thing specifically because we're not looking at one thing specifically. We take that holistic approach at looking at an application, and so it really actually the most important thing that we're going to look at is your high school profile. Like, what environment are you coming in from? What was offered to you in your environment? Then we'll see, well, okay, did you choose to challenge yourself over those 4 years, take on courses that are challenging you, and especially, pushing that challenge all the way through your senior year, not kind of taking your foot off the gas, right? So we're definitely looking for that rigor. Your ability to handle a challenge is important to us. When it comes to testing, right, we've been test optional for the last 2 years. We're test optional for this year's cycle as well. Further years are kind of a more pending conversation that depends on a lot of things that are going on at the moment. But the way that works, and if it if someone's watching this and this is test optional for next year, the way we kind of look at that is like, make the best choice that represents your abilities. We all recognize that, like a 4-hour test isn't going to be exactly representative of 4 years of your day-to-day school performance, right? So really take some time, look at your averages at your high school, take some time and look at our median averages and our historical averages, and then really try to see, okay, well, is it worth me submitting my test score, or maybe should I not? I have the option, right? So yeah, that's kind of really when it comes to test scores and academics. But kind of other qualities that we look for are students that have the genuine love and interest of learning, right? They want to be lifelong learners, questioning, they're dedicated and involved, I'd say. Our campus has so much going on, and we want to make sure that students coming in are going to jump right in or build something while they're here. So definitely looking for those components as well.
Absolutely. How important is the essay in that college admissions process?
Essays are super important. I think that it could be a make or break, really, sometimes in applications. Really taking the time to tell us something about yourself that we might not get from the rest of your application, right? Or a sense of from the rest of your application. Take some time with it, right? Really do the work of making sure it sounds good, your structure, your grammar, everything is neat and tidy. Have other people give you feedback within it too. But pretty important, because that's how we get to hear about you and in your voice. Same with recommendations, but the other way around, right? Have them come from folks who know you and your work ethic and your values, so we can get a sense of who you are in the classroom as well.
Great. And how about activities? Sometimes it's quantity versus quality. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? It's the quality of what you're doing, and so showing us that you're doing activities, you're putting your time, your effort, your commitment into those activities, showing us that you grow within those activities, as opposed to doing 9 things and just kind of being someone who stands on the sideline, right? And so very important. Rather do 2 or 3 things really well than 8 things half-heartedly.
Great. That's what we try to share with the students as well. So I think that's great. So as you know, we're an IB World School.
Mm-hmm.
We offer the IB Diploma Program as well as the IB Career Pathways Program. So how does that affect a student's admission? Or is there an advantage to that? Or how would that work with credits? If you could just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. And so when it comes to credits transferring, we do allow for that, especially with IB and AP CLEP as well. But I wouldn't say it gives you an advantage per se. It's kind of similar to the rigor, right? When we talk about, okay, how are you challenging yourself? If that's available to you and you're able to take that route and option, knowing that that's a internationally accepted high-level curriculum, we like to see that, right? We like to see that coming in from our students and our applicants. I wouldn't say that it's going to put you at any advantage, because of course the rest of your application is always going to be being taken into consideration. But when it comes to taking on a challenging curriculum, that's definitely one way that you can do that, for sure.
Okay, great. And one last question. If you could offer one piece of advice to a student who's entering that college search process, what would it be?
Stay organized, stay on top of deadlines, and make one email that manages all of your search. I'd say that's like the best thing I can offer you, is keep everything streamlined. There's a lot of stuff that's thrown at you, and kind of manage your stress, right? Like at the end of the day, things are going to work out the way they're supposed to. And so just kind of going into it with an open mind, and being engaged with the process and taking ownership of the process.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you might want to share about the school?
There's so much, especially having attended there, but I hope you can come out and see it for yourselves. I think at the end of the day, for a lot of students, a lot of families, even students who've had family members attend that are like, oh, there's no way I would want to go to the same school as my brother or my dad or whatever. The moment they step on campus, things kind of start clicking and turning. And so if you do have the chance, definitely try to come out and visit us.
I was amazed at how many of my daughter's friends had siblings who either went to school or are there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's like 3 degrees of connection in some areas, right? But yeah, definitely being on campus and getting a sense of that.
well, thank you so much for sharing your time. I know you guys are really busy right now, so we really do appreciate it.
Always
Um,
happy to.
Yeah. So again, Washington and Lee, definitely highly promoted. Great school. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to your guidance counselor. And thank you again, Mr. Kapasi, for joining us this morning. And I'm going to end the recording now.